you guys have seen or heard, but Caitlin Clark is in fact back.
I'm not a huge fan of minute restrictions. I think that's silly. I told them I don't want to come back unless I'm 100% full go.
The basketball world just witnessed something absolutely extraordinary. Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who had been nursing quad injury for 3 agonizing weeks, stepped back onto the court Saturday night and delivered what might be the most jaw-dropping performance of the entire WNBA season. But this wasn't just any comeback story. This was the night she single-handedly ended the New York Liberty's perfect season, dropping 32 points in a performance so electric it left even LeBron James posting about it on social media. When Clark walked into Gainbridge Fieldhouse, she wasn't interested in playing it safe. She had made it crystal clear to her coaching staff that she wasn't coming back for limited minutes or cautious rotations. "I don't want to come back unless I'm 100% full go," she had told them, and those words carried the weight of someone who understood exactly what was at stake. The Liberty arrived in Indianapolis riding high with a flawless 9-0 record, boasting the league's most suffocating defense that had been holding opponents to just 88.1 points per 100 possessions. They were the defending champions, they looked unstoppable, and they were about to find out what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. From the very first possession, Clark was orchestrating like a conductor with her favorite symphony. She found Kelsey Mitchell for an easy layup, then fired a pinpoint full-court pass to Aaliyah Boston that had the State Farm assist of the game written all over it. But the Liberty wasn't intimidated. They came out swinging, building a commanding 17-6 lead with an 11-0 run that had Fever fans settling in for what looked like another one of those slow start battles they'd grown accustomed to watching. That's when everything changed. With 3 minutes and 41 seconds left in the first quarter, Clark checked back into the game, and you could see it in her eyes. This wasn't just another possession. This was her moment to remind everyone why her 3-week absence had felt like an eternity. What happened next was pure basketball poetry written in the language of deep three-pointers. The takeover began with a 34-foot bomb at the 126 mark that sliced through the net with surgical precision. The crowd barely had time to process what they'd just witnessed before Clark was pulling up again, this time from 28 feet out, just 21 seconds later. And then, as if she was putting an exclamation point on a masterpiece, she drained a 31-footer with 43 seconds left in the quarter to complete the hat trick. Gainbridge Fieldhouse didn't just erupt, it practically levitated off its foundation. By halftime, the numbers were telling a story that seemed too good to be true. Clark had already poured in 25 points on an absolutely scorching 6 for 9 shooting from beyond the arc, and she had done it all in just 15 minutes of actual playing time. But if you thought the first half was special, the second half was where the Fever would completely seize control of this game and send the Liberty's perfect season crashing to earth. New York came out of the locker room with fire in their eyes, quickly building a 59-53 lead that had all the makings of another, one of those comeback victories they'd pulled off back in May. The Liberty looked like they were ready to prove that their undefeated record wasn't just luck, it was championship DNA. But Indiana had other plans, and what followed was one of the most devastating runs in recent WNBA memory. The Fever unleashed a stunning 19-0 surge that didn't just close the gap, it completely dismantled the Liberty's confidence. Kelsey Mitchell was cutting to the rim like a knife through butter. Lexi Hull was creating steals out of thin air, and Aaliyah Boston was working her magic inside the paint with footwork that would make a ballet dancer jealous. And just when it seemed like the run might be slowing down, Clark punctuated it with yet another deep three-pointer that stretched the lead into double digits and had the entire arena losing its collective mind. But the Liberty weren't ready to surrender their perfect season without a fight. They made a crucial defensive adjustment, assigning 2-time MVP Breanna Stewart to guard Clark from 25 feet away, essentially trying to shut down those trademark logo three-pointers that had been torching them all night. It was a smart strategy in theory, neutralize the long-range threat by pulling their best defender that far out. But basketball is a game of chess, and every move creates a counter-move. By pulling Stewart that far from the basket, the Liberty had just created a massive vulnerability in their rebounding game. The Fever pounced on this opportunity like predators sensing weakness. Christy Wallace and Lexi Hull were suddenly everywhere, keeping balls alive after missed attempts and creating second-chance opportunities that shouldn't have existed. As the shot clock wound down in one crucial possession, Christy Coulson connected on a deep three-pointer that felt like a dagger through Liberty hearts. Moments later, Aaliyah Boston was powering her way inside for a physical and one finish that had the entire building on its feet. The momentum wasn't just swelling for Indiana, it was becoming a tidal wave. Kelsey Mitchell found herself with more room to operate than she'd had all season, and she wasn't about to waste the opportunity. She exploded for 10 points in the fourth quarter alone, highlighted by a corner three-pointer with 4 minutes and 34 seconds remaining that essentially sealed the game. When Mitchell hit another late three to push the lead to 15 points, Indiana's social media team would later label it the dagger, and honestly, they weren't being dramatic. When the final buzzer sounded, the stat sheet told a story that seemed almost too perfect to be real. Clark had tallied 32 points, 7 three-pointers, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds in just 31 minutes of playing time. She had accomplished all of this while ending the Liberty's undefeated season, forcing them to surrender more points than they had in any other game all year. The final score read 102-88, but those numbers couldn't capture the way Clark had completely rewritten the script of what was supposed to be the Liberty's coronation tour. Even NBA royalty took notice. LeBron James, who rarely comments on WNBA games, took to social media to acknowledge what he had just witnessed. Despite dealing with questionable technical fouls from referees who seemed determined to insert themselves into the narrative, and despite facing the reigning champions on their quest for perfection, Clark's performance reinforced something the basketball world was starting to understand. She operates at a level that few players in any league can match. After the game, Clark reflected on finding her rhythm, explaining that seeing her first three-pointer fall had given her the confidence she needed, especially when she quickly followed it with 2 more in transition. Those 3 consecutive shots early in her return had boosted her mindset for the entire night. By the second quarter, she wasn't just finding open looks, she was making impossible, heavily contested shots look routine. Each attempt felt smooth and clean off her hand, that magical feeling every great scorer knows is the foundation for a truly dominant performance. But here's what makes Clark's impact so revolutionary. It's not just about the shots she makes. From the moment she first stepped onto a college court at the University of Iowa, she began rewriting the unspoken rules of basketball. Where others saw limits and boundaries, she saw nothing but opportunities waiting to be seized. Where traditional coaching wisdom warned against certain shots, she embraced them with the confidence of someone who knew she was changing the game forever. Her philosophy on shooting range and court positioning has always defied every conventional piece of basketball advice ever given. And now, in her first professional season, she's proving that these aren't just bold ideas, they're the future of basketball. Clark has turned the basketball court into her personal canvas, often launching three-pointers from distances that would make most coaches call timeout just to yell at their players. Some of her most breathtaking makes come from several feet beyond the WNBA three-point arc, occasionally flirting with shots that seem closer to half-court than the traditional shooting range. But these aren't wild, desperate heaves thrown up in moments of panic. These are deliberate, calculated weapons in an arsenal that defies every piece of basketball wisdom passed down through generations. The key to her effectiveness lies in what analysts have started calling gravity manipulation. Simply by being on the floor, Clark forces defenders to abandon every conventional positioning rule they've ever learned. Her range stretches defensive schemes so far beyond their natural limits that teams are pulled completely out of their comfort zones, leaving vast open lanes for teammates who suddenly find themselves with scoring opportunities they never knew existed. Her rookie season statistics aren't just impressive, they're the type that shake up decades of basketball theory. She averaged 19.2 points per game while shooting 34.4% from deep on an astounding 8.1 attempts per game. That combination of volume and efficiency is virtually unheard of in WNBA history. Almost 44% of her total shots came from beyond the arc, a ratio that would make most coaches break out in cold sweats. Her effective field goal percentage stood at 52.9%, proving that even her so-called bad shots often pay off in ways that traditional analytics can't properly measure. The ripple effects of her presence extend far beyond her own scoring numbers. Opposing teams have been forced to completely redesign their defensive philosophies just to deal with her threat. Traditionally, defenders extend their pressure only to the three-point line, maybe a step or two beyond. Against Clark, they're picking her up near half court, sometimes even earlier. This creates massive driving lanes for the Indiana Fever's other players, both in transition and in carefully orchestrated set plays. Some coaches have resorted to box-and-one defenses, signing one player to shadow Clark at all times, regardless of where the ball is or what the offensive set is calling for. Others send double teams the moment she crosses half court, essentially treating her like a one-woman fast break that needs to be stopped at all costs. These desperate strategies often leave the Fever playing 4-on-3 offensively, creating scoring opportunities that no defense can consistently stop. The impact on future players might be the most fascinating part of this entire phenomenon. Youth basketball programs across the country are reporting a massive surge in requests for specialized extended-range shooting sessions. Young players are desperate to copy not just her range, but her seemingly effortless shooting motion that makes 35-foot shots look as natural as layups. They're willing to put in countless hours of practice, knowing that the ability to score from Clark-level distances could completely change their basketball futures. Training facilities have had to completely reimagine their approach to player development. Shooting machines and rebounding systems are being redesigned so players can practice from distances that used to be considered impractical for regular training. Strength and conditioning specialists are building entirely new programs tailored specifically to help players generate the power and precision needed to hit shots from extreme range without sacrificing the accuracy that makes those shots worthwhile. The psychological impact on defenders is something that traditional basketball statistics simply can't measure. Guarding Clark isn't just a physical challenge, it's a mental war of attrition. Defenders can't relax anywhere past half court because a single moment of hesitation could lead to Clark sinking a shot from what most people would consider an impossible distance. This constant mental pressure forces opponents to expand their defensive awareness to areas of the court they normally wouldn't even think about guarding. Over the course of a long season, this mental strain can wear even the most experienced players down. Coaches facing Clark must dedicate extra practice time to retrain defensive instincts that have been built over years of traditional basketball. And when she makes one of her trademark deep threes, especially in crucial moments, the emotional effect can flip a game's momentum so instantly that it feels like the basketball gods themselves have intervened. Clark's influence has even forced television